had this R33 Skyline donor shell come in, and my job is to mould the roof and to make a copy to go on my client's sports sedan race car. The client's cut and polished the roof, which is great, and we've had a look at factory parts diagrams to see where all these pieces join and how they join, and we've also spoken to his panel beater and firmed up in our mind where we want the new roof to join onto the body shell. These angled edges across the windscreen and down the side and across the back window will help keep the perimeter shape of the roof as it should be. It will avoid warpage. But in the middle there, that's pretty flat. So what I'll do is when I make my mould, I'll add several ribs across the top here, going all the way across to keep that shape absolutely perfect and to avoid the mould changing shape at all from the original factory roof. Although it's been polished, I'm going to start by putting on a coat of release wax and then PVA, and then we'll fiberglass it. Even though this is a donor shell, it's going to be on sold to somebody else to turn into, I think, a drag car maybe. So I don't want to get resin spilling all over the edge and onto this roll cage. So I'm going to mask things off to stop that. Most race car builders making a copy of a roof from a mould would make the copy in carbon fibre. And there's basically two ways you can do it. You can just do hand layup and use a credit card to get the air bubbles out, but you won't get them all out. You get tiny little pinholes in a couple of places, inevitably. But if you're going to paint the roof, that's not a problem. If, however, you want a carbon fibre roof that's clear, that shows the pattern and the material of the carbon fibre, with a mould like this, you're going to have to either vacuum bag it yourself or take it to somebody who does vacuum bagging. However, I'm not going to use carbon fibre. If you've ever seen the carbon fibre bodywork of a drag car hit those concrete walls, you'll know that they just explode. Carbon fibre fragments under impact. There's a much better material. You don't want something like carbon fibre over your head that's just going to go pop. You want something that's tear and abrasion resistant. One of the most underrated fibres in the composite and car race building world, in my opinion, and that's Kevlar. This stuff you can't cut with normal scissors. You've got to have special tools to cut it, even when it's dry, and it's incredibly tear and abrasion resistant. Although Kevlar with aramid fibres in it is one of the toughest materials on the planet, it's hard to get a good surface on it. And so I'm not just going to use Kevlar, I'm going to use it in combination with fiberglass. The advantage of that is I can put gel coat on first, and that gives me a smooth surface that the panel beater can sand, and he'll be happy painting that. In preparing for this layout, I did a couple of tests. This piece has 2 layers of chopped strand mat and 1 layer of Kevlar. The other piece has only 1 layer of chopped strand mat and 2 layers of Kevlar. Now you would think, as I did, that 2 layers of Kevlar would be stronger than 1. But I can flex that one with 2 layers of Kevlar. But this one, with only 1 layer of Kevlar and 2 layers of fiberglass, I can feel it's much stiffer. So that's what I'm going to go with. 2 layers of 450 gram chopped strand mat and 1 layer of Kevlar. And I'll be using polyester resin. With this roof successfully copied in fiberglass and Kevlar, I'm now thinking about what's the best way to mount it onto the race car. And although this isn't the actual car the roof's going on, it gives me the opportunity to show you where my thoughts are on this. When I moulded this roof, I copied the windscreen flange, the rear window flange, the flanges over the doors, and the flanges for the rear windows. And I did that because the client and the panel beater had looked at those manufacturing diagrams. And I think we've perhaps made a mistake, because the thinking is thinking about changing the roof in the way that you would change a steel roof. And if you drilled out all these pop rivets and took the roof off, yes, that would be the way to put a new steel roof on. But you can't put pop rivets along here, because the winds, they get in the way of the windscreen seal and the door closing and so forth. And I think I've worked out a better way and an easier way of grafting this roof and a roof like this onto a car. This will be my suggestion to the client. Instead of joining the fiberglass roof here, along where the two pieces of factory metal join, I'm going to suggest doing it back here. So if you just cut the factory roof, leaving, say, 15mm of the original metal, you've got your flange there. Then you take your fiberglass roof and you trim it above the windscreen, and that's your overlapping edge. And then all you've got to do is drop the fiberglass straight onto that. The only blending on the bodywork you've got to do is along that edge, which is hardly seen anyway. If you wanted to, you could put pop rivets in there, countersunk pop rivets, 4.5mm. And if you're going that way, I'd use industrial Sikaflex to give you a strong adhesion and a good seal. Or you could just use epoxy cream like 690 that Trojan make, and just put a bead all the way around and then just drop the roof down. Then all you've got to do is clamp it. That's what I'll be suggesting to the client. Just cut out the steel roof, leave all the original factory joins, and drop the fiberglass down onto it. The fiberglass will need to be trimmed to do that. The other reason that I wanted to follow up with this on you is to let you know that making these right angle joins all the way around makes the mould not difficult to make, but you've got to know what you're doing. But it makes it difficult to get the copies out, and it makes it very hard to not have damage occur to your mould when you're pulling the fiberglass out. So if I was to mould the roof again, I wouldn't go down onto the gutters. I would just go over that top edge and down there, and that way you wouldn't have any of the right angles on the perimeter of the mould. I'd probably put more bits of reinforcing over through the roofs to make it stronger, and more ribs. But you'd end up basically with a slightly curved mould in the shape of the roof, but without all these edges round it. It would make moulding the roof easier, and it would certainly make making the copies easier as well. I won't be putting the roof that I've made on the sports sedan race car. That job is going to be done by the panel beater. So how they'll do it is up to them. But I will suggest to the client what I've outlined here, and if he wants to go that way, I may even trim the roof for him. Work out your own way of doing it.